Man, I'm hoping we get the first volume cover soon because I want to replace the one from chapter one just because I'm really hoping that we can get at least the first glance, and I'm hoping to see the numbers for volume one as well. Looks like things are really starting to kick up, so I'm hoping that when things start ramping up, that we can get generally a lot more action because we got some information on the power system in this chapter, and it looks like big events are starting to move, and I'm pretty hyped on this. I didn't consider the unfortunate bad luck of a lot of the series when it comes to having some form of tournament or some form of exam like this. It goes bad a lot of the time, and it looks like things are as no pun intended for the series, building up for that. But as the last chapter set up, we have Eliki, and he's going against all these Preda spiders, and from that we had, for opening up, an interaction between Smith and Haka, and again, I'm very curious as to like the what's going on with Haka, because like there's a little bit in this chapter, and it like starts out like the conversation he had with Smith about like, well, for a structure for the week, like shouldn't a grave be more than good? Because the idea of it is like, why even bother building a house for like a really weak person? Just dig a hole and put him in there. It's a pretty cruel outlook to have. Like, I'm guessing this guy has like a very food chain-esque mindset, only the strong live sort of way. And I can see, obviously, like, in their world, why somebody could think that. Like, some people are going to be chosen in some aspects, like, at least from their beliefs. Like, if you're just born really powerful, you're probably going to have a level of, like, elevated thought process over people. But he's, like, talking to Smith, he's, like, telling me, are you weak or strong? And, man, I didn't even need to know that, like, before going to the power system or, like, building up, like, more information on Smith. This guy, it's very obvious that Smith is strong. So I was like, unless Haka is way more powerful than anybody else, like, around him, then there's no way that he would stand up against, or there's no way that, like, Smith would seem weak, essentially. And I really like this at the start. Like, they're just having a conversation, and he's like, well, if whether I'm strong or weak, why don't you try me and find out? And they're talking about how like Haka is like from the Satan Hills, and I'm guessing that's going to lead into the like the main bad guys of Toriko of Build Kings. I wanted to mention Toriko, so I was trying to keep it in the back of my head, not fumble, because it was in Toriko that it took a while to understand, or to get an information on who the bad guy group is, like who the antagonistic group was. And it's been like that for Build King as well. Like, we have set up stuff with like the house beasts and like just general criminals, but we don't know who exactly are like the bad guy group. Like, who exactly is it going to be, like the enemies are coming from and whatnot. And I'm hyped up to see exactly information about that. But then like you get this really cool like spread to half, I want to say, like not a full double spread, but like spread to half of Haka punching Smith and just doing all these just general attacks on him. And we found out from the power system, because they're all different colors from each punch. When we find out on the power system, when we're seeing Eliki just generally fight, like one of the Preda spiders shoots a bunch of silk at him, and he's like, I don't want to reuse any of my vigor for this, outside of the construction stuff, but like, let's just do it. And he's not a fan of the meaningless battle here. He's not trying to kill the spider. He's just gonna flex on him a little bit to use the least possible amount of vigor available, which makes a lot of sense when you think about it, because they give some limitations on vigor and just like the way that it works. And the power system already, I think, is really good. Like, essentially, vigor is life force, and you're putting your life force into something. Like say if you had a certain level of power and you just had a stick, you can put your power into said stick and then make the stick way more powerful than like just what it is by itself. Like, say if like a super powerful character end up like putting a lot of strength into like literally just like a piece of wood, and then it's like, well, because of this character that made this piece of wood so strong, it can lift up 1,000,000 tons or something ridiculous. And then fully within the viewpoint and scope of Shumbakuro doing crazy power levels and ridiculous things like that, but it's just a guess at the current end of the day. But they're mentioning that in order to tame homeostasis, like vigor has a number of special attributes determined by color. And I thought this was really cool, just because the way that the powers work, it's like you both have the power, but you can instill like a level of resistance to it. It's kind of like how, like, in Fairy Tail you have dragon slayers are just slayer wizards in general, and they have, they use their element or their attribute, and at the same time they are a degree, like very high degree, resistant to it. It'd be like if they could just put their resistance into things, like obviously the main character, Fire Dragon Slayer. It'd be like if he put his power into a house, and then it's like, oh, well, because of that, it's heat resistant, which makes a lot of sense. And so, Eliki, who uses yellow vigor, and they say what it does is it prevents deterioration, oxidization, but at the same time, if you apply that to somebody, apply it to a thing like a being, or like use it in a way of combat, it can apply the opposite direction. So him, who's now preventing deterioration or oxidation, he's essentially got a power of corrosion, which is really cool. So like, say if you had red vigor, like it says, strength, bone, like density, it's just general power. But you put it in something, it's way more durable. Or I think orange is the heat one. Where is it at? Orange vigor. Metal has the power to function. That's a barrier one. Yeah, increases resistance to fire. You have like blue, which is against like water and stuff. I think these are actually really cool. Purple, bacteria, poisons, because it just means that there are ways for characters like to just understand how their power is from a very basic standpoint. But it means that characters obviously who have more than this are going to be able to use just more than one power. But I'm wondering if they can mix powers and stuff. Like, say you took two colors and mixed them together, would that create something new, or is it literally just using both powers at the same time? But it is a really cool like power system, and they're mentioning how when you use your vigor, you can crystallize it. That's how they put it like onto objects. Like we saw Eliki put it onto his shuriken when he threw it, and like in the crystallization, if you go small enough, like every crystal is different. Like everybody has a different crystal. Kind of like when they say like every snowflake is unique. Essentially, everybody has like a certain symbol of what their crystals look like if you just get down to like the microscopic aspect of it. And this, like what their crystallized vigor looks like is usually what their emblem is for like their businesses and construct stuff, which I think is really cool. Like I really like this power system already. I think that just it's very unique, but at the same time, it has a lot of simplistic ways of understanding it, but it has a lot of general uses. And then I like that the cool like crystallization symbols and whatnot that goes with it, because it adds an extra level of just general show off with it that I think is really cool. But Eliki just pulls out his vigor iron and pretty much just runs it along part of one of the vigor spider legs, and that causes the leg to just erode and like crumble away. So he wasn't looking to kill the predator spider. He just was trying to get him to be like, hey, listen, man, if you want to die, just keep going. But otherwise, like, just back away, just go, take your friends and get out of here. Which I think was pretty cool of him, just because it gave a nice flex, but at the same time, it made sense of his character if he's not wanting to overuse his energy source at a unnecessary fight. Somebody who's fodder to him, so he's not gonna want to use their resource. Like they even said, like, crystallizing 1 millimeter vigor takes seconds off of a craftsman's lifespan. But at the same time, I'm guessing that characters aren't going to be like limited to a regular human's lifespan. Like maybe like I assume the more powerful, more vigor you have, the longer you live. Like there's probably characters who are like hundreds to thousands of years and stuff. But after that point, like we have Smith. He's just recovering from, not even recovering. He's pretty much just shaking off these punches like they didn't do anything. And he's like, "Oh, you're using 6 colors. That's kind of cheating." And obviously, one of the ways that he's describing it is he's going in the power system, and you can fend off a color of vigor by using the opposite color. So if somebody hits you with red, you can use green. So it's essentially you have the ability to. If you have to use the opposite to the like an equal extent, like somebody uses a red vigor attack that has the value of like 5, if you defended with it with a green vigor ability with a value of 5, it just cancels it out. I would assume like that just makes sense. And on top of that, he's like saying how it's not just like you don't have to just counter it. If you're just outright more powerful, you can just pretty much overwhelm it. It's just more, because he's like saying, like Smith is saying that, oh, well, I've built structures that are like usually made to hold magical creatures or like places where meteors are constantly striking. So that's just hype on him. But he also says there's no
master carpenter who can beat him. So that's hype on him. Like, he's a little bit stronger than I would have guessed. That was, I think, the thing that was more surprising in that confrontation. Like, getting the power explanation, and I figured it was like, well, maybe Haka's stronger than we think, but it's actually Smith who's more powerful than I would have guessed. Like, I knew he was strong. I didn't think he was going to be so powerful as to make that kind of level of statement, but we'll see. And he calls him Citadel Smith. I'm wondering if that's his full name or if that's like a nickname or something. But we get this other guy, you know, the one that has all the nails like in his head and mask, like leading the exam. I thought it was a chick, but it's actually a dude. He's like, listen here, I don't. A proctor shouldn't have to use their supply of vigor outside of general construction. But he says you're limited supply, and it's revealed this is one of the 10 edifices. So I'm guessing that, you know, maybe like the 10 edifices are like unaging or something, and they have unlimited vigor or something like that, or something ridiculous. When he's just mentioning specifically that somebody as big as Smith has a limited vigor. So he's probably looking at a larger scope. But it looks like this character, it says Nitch and Satch. This is one of the 10 edifices, leading member of the Build-On. So I'm guessing that this character has 2 people inside the body. Like, there's just 2 individuals here. And there's like a statement on what exactly is, like, Nitch and Satch work on. It says architectural specialist in haunted houses, former master carpenter of Hitako House Group. So in haunted houses, that, you know, obviously ghosts and stuff. Maybe this guy's 2 people in one body, or just like split personality or something. But I thought that was just really cool in general, because obviously setting up like a big character is around here, and we already have big people moving, because we know that the leader of the Build-On is having 2 of his house beats on the way. Like, there's concern over what's going on with 2x4 and stuff. But there's noting from Smith, and he's like, you know, we at Build-On won't turn anyone who comes our way. Like, clearly they don't care if you're a good guy or a bad guy. They're more of like the overall picture. I'm guessing you have to be really bad in order to like get on a negative position for them. But he's like, it's just like, could it be the owner of Satan Hills that's headed this way? So obviously, like, that would be the leader of that bad guy group. Or who knows if there's multiple bad guy groups? I don't know. Like, that's obviously like a big question up and coming. But he's like, it's anyone's guess is what goes on over, you know, who's coming over from Satan Hills. And that must mean the lead carpenter might be coming too. All these circumstances are getting kind of strange. And they even ask him, is like, when Tonkatchi comes over and they're like, oh, what's your goal? And Haka, I can't tell if Haka is looking at Tonkatchi for value or if he's just looking at Tonkatchi for walking over. So Tonkatchi obviously is the main character. We already have hype. We have information, and like straight on information that he actually has very high level of vigor and he can't control it. We don't know what his main character thing is. And it could easily be that maybe he's some form of descendant from a special family, or like some form of ancient being. And actually, just because like somebody, I had like the idea of just like the question of what exactly it is about the main character, but another YouTuber, Manga Mean, he's also doing Build King. Go check out his channel. He's the one that has been mentioning it more regularly in his reviews. So it's definitely like I think it's more of a him theory that I think holds a lot of weight in what's coming up for whatever the reveals of Tonkatchi. Because if they're going after him, maybe it'll be like the characters know about Tonkatchi's value, and you know, it's gonna come and try and take him. Or it could be that they want to show up and just take all the really valuable people in this. Because one of the things that they said is that like a lot of big people were showing up because this year was like an exceptional year for upcoming carpenters, and Shovel is clearly a really big deal in the world. I'm guessing that Shovel is directly below the 10 edifices. Like he's the strongest character before them, and him having 2 apprentices like handpicked in this competition would mean that they're very valuable and they have high potential. I'm guessing if Shovel picked them that they have to have like some obvious, like some secret in general, and then obviously it being the main character. And it's looking at the numbers, like you see number 4 and number 9 on these house beats. I'm wondering what exactly that's going to equal out to, because I think the ones that the leader of Build-On, he had 6 and 10. So there's obviously like a numbered set, and we're going to be seeing some of these in the future. I would assume up and coming, like next couple chapters. Because the chapter ends and you see Satan Hills Annex, and you have these pretty spooky looking house beats. I love the designs of them. Like the biggest one that we see like closest to POV number 4. It looks cool. I really like the drill and the pickaxe, but the one next to it, actually I really like the cool like towers just kind of like randomly sticking out in place. I always liked castles like that, so it looks cool. But I really like the one next to it with it's got the circular saw. It reminds me a lot of like when they were initially attacking the Cooking Fest in Toriko, is they had that one scum beast that was like a big jail. It reminds me of that one. I think it's just like the way that the pillars are, kind of looks like the mouth. I like these designs. They're really cool, and I want to see them in action, because we haven't seen like an actual house beast like in full out assault. Like that's one of the things that I'm very hyped about, and I was happy in this chapter because I've mentioned that we haven't got a lot of action in this series. We've gotten a lot of world building, got a lot of really nice art, and just a lot of good general structure to the series, which I've enjoyed, very much enjoyed. But this chapter we did get some action, and we got some fighting stuff, and Shimabukuro was really good at just action, you know, like I said, world building. He makes fun characters and stuff. He's got really good art spreads too, like that. Even though you have like these cool house beasts like in the shot, I really like the panel where you had Haka punch Smith, just because it was just a really cool quick motion action that was a good taste of the level of just kind of craziness that's coming up. Like, yeah, this dude just throw hands with this clearly very powerful person, and apparently with 6 different powers. I wish he stated what the colors were so we can just guess what he's got. And I would assume he's got yellow just because some of the colors look that way. So he's got the erosion, so that's automatically like a big power right there. Because when we look at all of them, I want to end up looking at each of them. You have red, which is strength, so that just general physical durability and raw hitting. Brown, which is elasticity, so stretching, just think of Luffy. Orange, which is has to do with heat, so I'm guessing, you know, just general heat-based powers. Yellow, which is erosion, we saw that. Green, is like thermal. They're talking about essentially like air-based things. We're mentioning like air tightness and sound insulation, so sound as well. Blue, which is gonna have to do with water. Purple's gonna have to do with poison. And what's the last one? Pink, which is healing. So you got a healer class, which obviously, like, all these are going to be very good and useful. And I like that you can have multiple, too. I think that's going to be really cool. Anyway, other than that, though, comment below, thumbs up the video, but from the like button, subscribe button, and check out my other videos. But other than that, I appreciate everybody's already subscribed. I thank you all for listening. Bye.